Hi there, I'm Tanya from Lovely Greens. In my past few gardening videos, I've taken you on tours around my own allotment plot. I've been showing you what's growing, what jobs I've been doing, and telling you a little bit more about what I grow. This time I want to take you on a tour of our entire field, and seeing that it's also August and there's flowers blooming and edibles ripening, I thought we could have a sneaky peek on other people's plots to see what's growing and to get some inspiration for ourselves. So let's go check out the Laxey Lonan Allotment Association. People who live in the Isle of Man in Britain will be well versed on what an allotment is. But if you're watching from somewhere else across the world, an allotment is basically a community garden, and they've been around since the war times. And our site is privately run. We started gardening in 2010, and this entire field was just grass. Livestock had been raised on it, and I don't think anything productive had been on this land before we started growing our own. There were no birds, there were hardly any beneficial insects, and the entire ecosystem has changed up here since we've started gardening. It's been amazing to watch. Our association is an organic allotment. That means that we don't use pesticides or herbicides, and I think we're doing pretty well without them. Check out these scarlet runner beans. We're a bit later than the rest of Britain on the Isle of Man when it comes to edibles ripening, but you can see some beans right there. One of our most experienced gardeners on the site is Peter. This is Peter's plot. He used to work professionally as a gardener, and he, I understand, managed the Valley Gardens in Douglas. And his plot always looks amazing. He always has things growing. If you recall from the last video, Peter actually was the one who gave me sweet peas, and you can see them growing there in the background behind these amazing brassicas. You'll also notice that there's lots of netting in our allotment. That's because we have pheasants. We don't have very many large pests that plague us, but we do have pheasants, and quite a few of them. Peter's also got some leeks, kale. He's got some flowers. I see some mums there. More brassicas, sage. In this bed, it looks like Peter's growing some parsnips in the back, beetroot, maybe some turnips. It's chaka. Traditional British garden fare, such as onions, beans, raspberries, and such. They do really well here at Lala. And on a good year, you can also get more tender crops like sweet corn to mature. Although I've given up personally because it's not even 50-50. It's 1 year out of 5 they'll actually mature. Let's go have a look and see what's under these leaves. Gently walking over. Whoa, I see a pumpkin. 2 pumpkins. 3. Although other allotment associations frown on growing anything other than edibles, we actually encourage people to grow flowers. I love growing flowers, both for cutting, so for bouquets, and also to attract beneficial insects. So that's part of our job as organic gardeners, to feed and encourage the insects that are going to come and take out the other insects that we don't want as much. So let's see here, we can see some hoverflies there, more over there. Brassicas, I think those are different types of cabbage under the netting. raspberries. I see some beans over there. And it looks like all the potatoes have been dug up. Actually, in that far bed, I can still see some stems popping out. So I have a great post on how to know when to harvest your potatoes. And part of it, when you figure that part out, is to cut the foliage off and leave the potatoes in the ground for about a week to 10 days and then dig them up. Teepees are a popular way to grow beans at our allotment, and I see on these 3 teepees, it looks like 2 are filled with the scarlet runner beans and the one in the middle has white flowers, so it's a different variety. One thing that makes us really unique on the Isle of Man is that we don't have to contend with a lot of the same pests that people in England and Ireland and across the world have to deal with. So we have no deer here, we have no moles, we have no badgers, no foxes, no snakes, and I'm sure there's some other animals that we don't have as well. As far as things that do well here at our site, we are quite high up, we are quite exposed, but we do have a completely south-facing slope, so we get plenty of sunshine. What we do have to worry about is wind, so a lot of people grow windbreaks, and raspberries often double as windbreaks as well, and they protect the plants that are behind them. I see in the distance some peas and various herbs, more courgettes, flowers, and netted over on the far right, those are black currants. And I see the glistening of a few berries. Let's go have a look over there and see if there are any underneath the netting still. Black currants. Now, from what I understand, a lot of people in North America have not really even heard of black currants, red currants, and gooseberries, which are all related fruit bushes. And that has to do with them being banned up until fairly recently because they can harbor the same kind of disease that affects and kills white pine. Now, for the most part, you can now grow them, but they're still relatively unknown. Black currants and red currants, they make excellent jam. Black currants make excellent wine as well, and also infuse it into rum, and it is simply delicious. So we're on the approach to my plot, which is from the corner that I generally don't start filming from. So this is the bottom corner. And I have actually these kind of dead looking bushes here. Those are red currants and they've already lost their leaves for the year. Comfrey, lots of sunflowers, and I grow these smaller varieties because of the wind that's up here. Taller ones tend to suffer and get knocked down. I also grow gladioli, and each one of these have been staked. So that's how bad it can get up here. Down here, so this entire row at the bottom are thornless blackberries, and they're just starting to ripen right now. Recently, I was on a trip to Portugal, and I was gone for a month. And my plot is looking a lot tidier than it did when I first got back, and that's due to an allotment friend or 2 of them, and also I've put in some grafting as well and doing some weeding. There's lots of bare patches because I just didn't sow things that I knew were going to ripen or mature when I was away. So I'm planning on filling a lot of those gaps in with greens that I have growing at home right now. So I've sowed pak choy, other oriental veg, lots of spinach, and am getting them ready to be planted in as autumn crops. I built this pond to attract frogs, and I actually yesterday found the hidey hole of where the adult frog lives. Let's see if he or she is here. Well, looks like somebody's home. We'll put that stone right back over. Oh! Straight into the pond. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the Laxey Lonan Allotment Association. If you've got any questions whatsoever, leave them down below and I'll get back to you. Also, give me a thumbs up if you like this video. And lastly, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I release a video every week and I focus on edible gardening, beekeeping, and making natural products. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next week.